For many men, it's not just a passing curiosity, it's a source of genuine anxiety. Cultural pressure, jokes from friends, and constant comparison can turn something entirely natural into a competition no one actually signed up for. Does size really matter? It's the question that's been whispered in locker rooms, laughed about in movies, and quietly worried about behind closed doors. And here's the strange part, most of what we believe about size doesn't come from reality at all. It comes from myths, from exaggerated portrayals in media, and from years of misinformation being repeated so often that it feels like fact. Those myths are powerful. They make men measure themselves against impossible standards, and they can even make women feel pressured to have preferences that may not actually reflect what they value in real life. That's why this conversation matters. Today, we're going to break it all down and uncover the 5 biggest mistakes men make when it comes to size. These mistakes don't just fuel insecurity, they also damage confidence, hurt intimacy, and distract from what really builds satisfaction in the bedroom. By the end of this video, you'll understand not just the truth about what women actually care about, but also how you can shift your focus toward the things that genuinely make a difference in attraction and performance. So stick around, because here's what's coming, the surprising truth revealed by real studies. Why chasing extremes can backfire, and the mindset shift that turns insecurity into confidence. So let's cut through the noise, put the myths to rest, and finally answer the question, does size really matter? When you strip away the media noise and actually look at the research, the story is very different from what most men have been led to believe. Multiple studies across different countries have asked women about size, and the results are surprisingly consistent. When women aren't under pressure or influence, the majority lean toward what's considered average, not extreme. In fact, one large survey found that while some women have preferences for slightly above average, most said that comfort, intimacy, and emotional closeness mattered far more than a number on a ruler. Even more interesting, when researchers asked women to imagine a long-term partner versus a one-night stand, preferences shifted. For casual encounters, some leaned toward bigger, but for relationships, average was consistently favored. So why does this matter? Because it highlights how the myths we absorb from adult media and locker room talk don't reflect real life. What's being sold to us is a fantasy, and it creates unnecessary pressure. The truth is, normal is exactly what most people are happy with. And yet, despite all this evidence, men keep falling into the same traps, misconceptions that fuel insecurity instead of confidence. Let's start with the first mistake. Mistake number 1. Believing media myths. The first mistake men make is believing media myths. We live in a culture where size is often dramatized. Movies, adult content, and even casual conversations exaggerate what's normal. The problem is, when you constantly see unrealistic examples, you start comparing yourself against a standard that doesn't actually exist. Here's the reality. According to medical studies, the average erect penis is about 5 to 6 inches in length and around 4.5 to 5 inches in girth. That's the true middle ground where the majority of men fall. But media doesn't show averages, it highlights extremes, creating a distorted picture of reality. This constant comparison is damaging. It convinces men that being average somehow isn't enough, when in reality, average is exactly what most partners are comfortable and happy with. And when a man feels inadequate based on false expectations, it doesn't just harm his self-image, it can affect intimacy, communication, and even performance. The truth is, confidence and connection matter far more than living up to a false media fantasy. Mistake number 2. Ignoring comfort and fit. The second mistake men make is ignoring comfort and fit. There's a widespread belief that bigger automatically means better. But in reality, size can sometimes create problems rather than solutions. Excessive length or girth isn't always enjoyable. Many women report that it can actually cause discomfort, even pain, especially during deeper penetration. This is where the idea of fit becomes important. Just like clothing or shoes, compatibility matters. A size that works for one person may not be comfortable for another. And for many women, what matters most isn't stretching physical limits, it's feeling safe, relaxed, and connected with their partner. In fact, surveys consistently show that women value emotional closeness, trust, and communication over sheer physical dimensions. A man who knows how to listen, adapt, and be responsive in the moment often creates far more satisfaction than someone relying only on size. Ignoring comfort doesn't just affect women, it affects men too. When a partner feels tense, worried, or physically uncomfortable, intimacy suffers for both sides. But when she feels safe and cared for, pleasure naturally increases, and so does confidence. So while media celebrates extremes, reality shows us that comfort and connection win every time. Mistake number 3. Assuming all women want the same thing. The third mistake men make is assuming all women want the same thing. This belief creates unnecessary stress because it frames intimacy as if there's a single ideal size every man has to measure up to. The truth is much more complex. Preferences vary widely. Some studies do show that a portion of women might slightly prefer above average size, say around 6.5 inches. But those same studies also reveal something far more important. Most women place much greater value on qualities like confidence, communication, emotional safety, and connection. Think of it this way: physical attraction might catch attention, but emotional compatibility and trust are what sustain intimacy over time. A partner who listens, adapts, and communicates openly is far more likely to create fulfilling experiences than someone who believes size alone will determine pleasure. It's also worth remembering that women themselves are not a monolith. Preferences can shift depending on the individual, the stage of the relationship, or even their own body and comfort. So the idea of one universal standard simply doesn't hold up. Believing otherwise only fuels insecurity. Recognizing the diversity of preferences frees men to focus on what truly builds lasting connection. Mistake number 4. Neglecting overall health. The fourth mistake men make is neglecting overall health. Many focus so much on size that they overlook the real foundation of sexual performance: blood flow, hormones, and lifestyle habits. Here's the truth: erectile quality has far more to do with circulation than with inches. Strong, lasting erections depend on healthy blood vessels, balanced hormones, and a body that's well rested and nourished. Without those things, even men with above average size can struggle to perform. Simple lifestyle factors make a huge difference. Poor sleep, dehydration, smoking, and high stress all reduce testosterone and restrict circulation. On the other hand, regular exercise, staying hydrated, eating nutrient-rich foods, and getting enough rest support natural performance. Think of it this way: you wouldn't expect a car to run smoothly on no fuel and bad maintenance. Your body works the same way. Neglecting health eventually shows up in the bedroom, and size won't change that. So instead of obsessing over measurements, men should invest in the basics: sleep, diet, movement, and stress management. These habits not only improve confidence and energy, they directly boost blood flow and stamina, which are the real keys to satisfying intimacy. Mistake number 5. Letting insecurity rule the bedroom. The fifth mistake men make is letting insecurity take control in the bedroom. Worrying too much about size creates stress and self-doubt, and that stress directly impacts performance. When anxiety spikes, the body produces cortisol, the stress hormone. High cortisol lowers testosterone and restricts blood flow, both of which are essential for strong erections. In other words, the very act of worrying about size can make intimacy more difficult. This creates a vicious cycle. Insecurity leads to poor performance, which then fuels even more insecurity. Meanwhile, partners often sense the tension, which makes connection and pleasure harder for both sides. Confidence, on the other hand, works in the opposite direction. When a man feels relaxed, present, and focused on his partner rather than on his own worries, intimacy naturally flows. Letting go of insecurity isn't just good for the mind, it's a direct boost to the body as well. So, what does all of this mean in practice? Here are the key takeaways to remember. First, stop comparing yourself to extremes. What you see in media isn't reality, it's entertainment designed to exaggerate. The real average is around 5 to 6 inches in length and 4.5 to 5 in girth, and that's exactly where most men fall. Second, understand the typical range. Knowing what's normal helps reframe expectations. Average isn't less than, it's healthy, common, and exactly what most partners are satisfied with. Third, focus on skills, not just size. Communication, foreplay, responsiveness, and emotional connection are what actually make intimacy satisfying. A man who pays attention to his partner will always be valued more than someone who only focuses on physical measurements. Finally, take care of your health. Sleep, hydration, exercise, and stress management are the foundation of performance. A well-rested, energized body supports confidence, blood flow, and stamina in ways size alone never could. When you shift your mindset from chasing inches to building connection and health, insecurity loses its grip. Intimacy becomes less about competition and more about genuine closeness. And that's the kind of experience both partners truly want.